What's up, everybody? The Silence Noise here, and I want to talk about an advanced OBS technique that I use to create styled overlays for my cameras. All right, so the first step in this technique is that you're going to be making heavy use of nested scenes using this method. So I'm going to walk you through the process that I use to make a couple of different nested scenes that make it a whole lot easier for you to be able to create styled overlays in cameras like this. One word of warning that I want to use before you do this: the use of this technique, using it very heavily, especially to the degree that I do when you're getting into 10 plus scenes of using this technique, will be pretty heavy on your overall computer usage, or will increase your CPU usage in OBS. So you might want to only make use of this for a few different scenes in general, but you also want to keep an eye on your CPU usage if you have a computer that's a little bit older or is something that you're not using too often. All right, so let's get to OBS and I'll show you how to set this up. So the first thing that you're going to want to do in here is create a new scene that is just a container for your camera. So again, this is a good idea if you're going to be doing effects like this, that you want to have a scene that's just your regular setup for your regular scenes that you're going to use, which is either just the raw camera feed or however you need to edit it. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to create a new scene. I'm just going to call this camera -2. I keep my stuff pretty organized, as you'll see as we're going through OBS here. And you'll want to click OK. And then what you're going to want to do over here is you're going to want to add, first of all, I need to add my audio input capture to this. So what we'll need to do is we'll need to add existing. So this is my audio that comes out of my DAW, which I'll talk about in a separate video. But then we're going to need to create a video input source for our video capture device. So then what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to create a source for our video capture device. And this will be the only scene that has the raw camera feed, whether it's your webcam or whatever you're doing in here. So you're going to add a video capture device. You can name this, the name of your device or whatever you want to put in here. Since I already have these added, you'll see that I have two in here, one for my Logitech C920 webcam and one that is my capture card, which is the HD60, which is capturing a DSLR feed. So what I'm going to do in here is I'm going to add that very quickly. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fix this because my camera resolution is not exactly right. So I'm going to get it to where I want it so that I'm in the center there. And then I'm going to lock it. You'll notice here that I'm using green screen. I'll make this a little bit bigger. So now I need to chroma key out in this scene. So what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to filter this. And then I'm going to add a chroma key. And then I'm going to pull out the green. And I can do whatever other setups or whatever I need to chroma key out over here. I can do that here. I can smooth it out. Whatever I need to do, I can make adjustments to the chroma key here so that I end up with a camera scene that's a raw camera scene in here. The other thing I noticed is we'll make this scene pretty similar to what I'm doing. I zoom this in pretty extensively because my camera, kind of no matter what I do, always captures like other parts of the screen or other parts of my desk. So I'm going to get it here. This is basically where I want it. Transform this to make it a little bit larger because it's still catching the edge of my desk. But I don't need it to be exactly perfect for the purpose of this demo. So this gives me a camera scene over here that I can use. Now what I want to do is I want to create a scene, and I already have a scene called this. I'm going to call it camera whiteout. The reason that I create this scene is that I find I get a much better take on the overlay of what I'm doing here in order to get the result that I want. So I'm going to create this camera and I'm going to call it whiteout. So we have this new scene here that I'm using. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to add this new scene, this camera 2 that I just created. So I'm going to nest a scene in here. So I'm going to, in my source window, I'm going to go over here. I'm going to add a scene. That scene is called camera 2. I have a bajillion scenes in here, as you'll see. But now camera 2 is a scene that is in here. And then on this whiteout scene, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new filter. And this filter will be a color correction filter. And what we're going to do is we're basically going to white out this entire camera. So the best way to accomplish this is you want to turn the gamma and the contrast and the brightness way down. So what you see here is it just created a white outline of me and what I have going on over here. And again, if I want to adjust the hue, if I want to try to pull stuff out a little bit more, I can do that. But basically, I'm getting a white camera. Again, mess with this, adjust it however you need to get it down to the level where it's basically whited out as best as you can. And then we've got that in here. So now I have this scene. So we have this scene over here, which is camera 2. We have this scene over here, which is the whiteout. I don't need to add my audio again here. And now, finally, what we're going to do is we're going to add yet another scene. And we will call this camera style cam. And so in here, what we're going to do, firstly, is we're going to add our white scene now, our whiteout scene that we just created. So I'm going to add an existing. I'm going to scroll to camera whiteout, which I created in here, and then I'm going to lock this. This creates the basis of the scene for my style cams, or for what I'm trying to do. And then we're going to obviously have to select what we want to use for our style cams. Okay, so normally the first place to find a style that I can use, or something interesting that I can use as an overlay, that I'm going to go is to one of the free stock video sites or stock image sites. You can obviously do this with an image, which is an easy way to do the image masking tool. But in this case, I want to create something that's a little more striking, a little more unusual, that you don't see quite as much on these. So a great term that you can use to look things up are terms like energy or things like that. And I will use sites like pixabay.com. There's also pexels.com. There are many free stock video sites where you can get videos like this to use and to cut down. Or you can look up free stock videos on YouTube, or license-free videos that you can use. You want to make sure these are license-free videos, that you're not using just any old video unless you have rights to the video. So in here, let's find an energy video in here. So like this would be a great one. One thing you want to try and do is either by default find a video that's a little bit shorter, or edit it yourself. So in my case, a lot of times I would take an effect like this that I like, but this video is 55 seconds long, and I would edit it down into a shorter video. Like this video right here is neat because it's 10 seconds. It's 4K. Normally you don't need it to be that big. So let's use this one as a start. I don't have a scene that looks like this. You can obviously see the video playing here. I'm logged in. You can create an account for this. I don't need it to be in 4K, so I'm just going to grab the 1920 version, and I'm going to download this video here. So this video is now called Chain 25380. So I just downloaded that file, and I've opened it in a folder. Then the next step is I'm going to go to a GIF conversion site, or a GIF site. I use Giphy for this. You can use whatever you want to do this. Part of the reason that I use these, it is possible to encode GIFs in Adobe Photoshop or in Adobe Premiere, but generally, even with pretty heavy compression, those come out with giant file sizes. And you'll remember what I said at the beginning of the video is the fact that you want these file sizes for these GIFs to be as small as you can possibly get them. Even if they're a little pixelated, even if it's not perfect, you want these file sizes to be small, because the more GIFs that you add to these types of scenes, the more resources, CPU resources and RAM resources it's taking up, because OBS has to keep these images always loaded, because you could switch that scene at any moment. So what you want to do is you want to upload here. Giphy, I found, does a really good job of compressing. We're going to take in that video that we just downloaded, Chain 25380. We'll drop it here. This is going to do the conversion that we get here. So this is doing its thing. We can call it whatever we want. I normally turn them off of being public because there's no reason to have them being public. Then we're going to upload. And then what we're going to do is we're going to see it start the conversion process. So once this is in here, you'll see that this GIF is now private. So what I'll do is I'll open this image in a new tab. And again, normally 480 by 270 is more than enough. You might think you need the full size, but you really don't, especially for effects like this and when you style them. So I'm going to download this GIF right here. We'll call this Energy Flux. We'll just make up a name for it. And we'll put it in here. So now I have this GIF. And we'll just double check on the file size. In here, we'll look at the file size. And so we'll see this is about 8 megs, which is fine. Still a little bit large, but it's fine. This will do the trick for what we want to do. Okay, so now that we have that ready and we have our video converted over into a GIF, we're going to go back into OBS. Now what we're going to do is you're going to see our various scenes. We're going to go back to that style cam scene that we created over here. So here we are back in the style cam with just the whiteout scene in it. Then what we're going to do is we're going to add a filter. That filter is going to be image mask. You're going to see why we need to do this instead of a video. We can adjust the type after we see how it's looking, but then we're going to browse. So I'm going to browse to that downloaded file that I added. It's called Energy Flux, and voila, we've got our effect here. So there, depending on how you want it to look, you can choose one of these different filters in here, like blend, multiply, keeps the color of what you've got in here, blend addition. So you'll see some of them will work well on a white camera, some of them won't, but you see how we're getting totally different effects in here and some that don't work as well on the white camera. You can also stylize using a black camera or a green camera if you want to get a more striking effect, but I found that blend, multiply works pretty well in here to get the type of effect that I want. You can also mess with the opacity and stuff in here if you want to. But now you see we've got this styled cam in here that is repeating, and when I move around, we've got moving images that go with what we're creating over here. Now, if we want to adjust this even further, which I do in these scenes, you can go into color correction, add a color correction filter in here, and we can play with this in all sorts of different ways to blow out the contrast, the brightness. So see, now we're getting a totally different feel in here with different hues, different effects. So this has created a pretty striking effect messing with it like this to get it to look how we want to, or we can pull it down. So let's say that's what we like. So again, we have those three scenes: camera 2, the whiteout cam, and the style cam, which creates this in here. Now we have the ability to be able to add this camera into a variety of different places. We can just put it in our overlay scene if that's what we prefer to use it that way. Or we also have the ability to turn these cameras on and off in a specific way. So I will show you how I've set that up. So what I'm going to do in here is I will go over to, I have a scene in here that I've created. I have two. One set of cameras that I use for live performances when I'm doing concerts. And this one, Cameras No Logo, is the scene that I use for my camera and chat scenes to be able to turn things on and off. So what you'll notice in here is that in this scene, we have all of those different style scenes. So I have something like 15 of them that are created in here. I have all of these different style scenes in here that I can turn on and off. Notice I also have my raw camera scenes in here as well, my HD60 and my webcam. Those are at the bottom so that when I turn on one of the effects, when I unmute it, you'll see those scenes go on and off. So I can do this in here. Now, the question is, how do I adjust this when I'm in my camera and chat scene to turn this on? So we're going to go over to an app that I use frequently called Touch Portal. You can also do this with a Stream Deck if that's the effect that you want to use to be able to get this done. So what we'll do is we'll open up we'll go back and we'll switch to our screen view. I'm going to show you the Touch Portal app. I do not have the free version. You can download this app at touchportal.com. I believe it is $10 or $11 for a license to create unlimited scenes, but there is a free version that you can create where you can create 4x2 grids and up to 2 pages. So I think it's up to 16 buttons that you can use in the free version of this. It is fantastic. You can use this from your phone or you can use this from a tablet. I will show you. I had an old tablet laying around that I started using for this purpose. But basically, I have a whole page in here that's created for what I call fancy cameras. All right, so what I'm going to do in here, I realized, is I'm going to add that new fancy camera scene that we created. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to click on Scene. And I'm going to add that new style camera. I believe it was called Cameras. What did I call it? Hold on. What did I call that scene? It was called Camera Style Cam. Okay, so in here, I need to add the scene Camera Style Cam. There it is. I want it to turn off. I notice OBS has a bug in it where it doesn't show your new stuff. So I'm going to turn it off. I can also adjust it to where if I do not want the regular cameras to be on so that effect is more striking, I have the ability to do that in Touch Portal. So over here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new button. We will call this Tech Grid for my fancy camera. Then we're going to go over to where OBS has set source visibility. I'm going to use the toggle function. So this is for my overall camera scene, no logo. And over here, I'm going to use that style cam I just created. And then in addition, if what I want to do when I press this button is, oops, I hit the wrong button. What I want to do over here is, let's say I want to turn off my regular camera when that's on. So in that same scene, I can toggle HD60, which turns my regular camera off. And then in here, what I'm going to do is undo the transparent background, and I can just give it a color to make it stand out so I know what it is or make it different from other ones. I click save, and so it's added a button in Touch Portal. On my little tablet, I have a scene where I can go to called Fancy Cams, which looks just like that page I had set up over here. And you'll now see on here, it's kind of out of focus. You'll see that new button is there. So when I press that button, it's going to toggle those scenes. So now what we need to do, now that we have it all set up so that it's adjusted, is we need to create the scenes that we're going to use where we're going to be activating or turning that camera on and off. So we'll just call this, normal scene. So in normal scene here, what we'll do is we will add our DAW audio. We will add our camera's no logo scene. It's called cameras no logo, which is what I use for that. I do have a lot of scenes, so I apologize for that. And then let's say we wanted to add a background or something else in here. So we'll just add an image. I have something in here. So in here, we have a variety of images that we can choose from. And here, I'm going to choose the one for Lake Tahoe. I'm going to move it to the back, so we'll see it in here. So here I am in a normal scene. Now when I press that button in Touch Portal in here, notice how I go into my style cam, it turned off the other cam, it turns that back on, and then I can go back to normal. Or I can turn on another one, there's my blue energy, and then I can go back to normal. You can also do this, as I said, in each scene if you want to, by manually clicking or turning things on and off. I just find Touch Portal to be the easiest way to turn these things on and off to be able to do that. And so that is how you get fancy style cams in OBS with video overlying motion to look super cool to use for all 80 different scenes. Nested scenes are really the secret. That's the way that you get it done. Hopefully this has been valuable to you. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below or send me a direct message. Let me know. Or join the Discord, which you will find in the link description below. And if you like this, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out all the new tips and music that come from me, The Silence Noise. Have a good one.